Waking the Red Weekly, presented by Footy Talks, is back. We are excited to announce that at least our collective bargaining agreement was ratified, and we are back for a second season of the show. We have quite the guest to kick off the year as well. Toronto FC EMLS athlete Phil Balke will stop by to talk League Series 1 qualifiers and plenty more about being the club's first eSports athlete. We also have plenty of news to catch up on as well, including Greg Vanney's move to LAFC or LA Galaxy rather. Wow, that's in my head now, and I'm going to do it every time. But he's going to LA Galaxy. We also have both national teams to talk about as well. But first, since it is a new season of the show, formal introductions probably in order. My name is Mitchell Tierney, editor at Waking the Red. We've got Jeffrey Pete Nesker as well, communications manager. How you doing, Jeff?
Hey, good. Check it out.
Of course, we got Mike.
No happy introductions for me, Mitch. I had to bring out the hat today, just so we can stare at it all day long. Big season kicking off tomorrow. So, got to support the buds, the local buds.
Yeah. There's a reason for those frosty introductions there. But no, that is Michael Singh, our managing editor. But let's dive into it right away here, boys. Greg Vanney, we knew this was coming, but Greg Vanney is going to LA Galaxy. I got it right this time. It's been a week since the announcement was made. He's going to be their head coach and technical director. Pretty unsurprising news, but what are your thoughts now that it's official?
The same thoughts
last week.
I was going to say the same thoughts we've had for like the past month, because everybody eventually knew this was going to happen as soon as he stepped down from TFC. But yeah, now that it is in place, I think we can finally start to turn the page and hopefully look forward to what TFC has in store for us. And, we wish Greg Vanney the best of luck, except for when he faces us and comes to BMO Field, of course.
Yeah, I feel like Jeff's reaction has gone up and down. I mean, I feel like he accepted it a little bit, and then he saw that video of Greg Vanney, walking out onto the pitch there, and I think he lost his mind for a little bit there again. And now it might be back to calmer again. But what are your thoughts now, Jeff?
Well, yeah, I mean, what a difference a week makes. I was ready to roast him on a spit last week, and this week I think I'm okay with a little bit of Chris Armas action, and that's down to our friend of the show and then former managing editor Charlie O'Connor-Clark, who really drilled in the benefits of the unsexy Chris Armas hire, and as to why it might end up being kind of sexy. TFC has a really good reputation with distressed assets who've got something to prove, and I think that if you open up the MLS dictionary right now, distressed asset with something to prove might actually be Chris Armas's picture. So I think I'm okay with it.
Yeah. So let's talk about why, I was on the same boat originally as you, Jeff. Kind of rubbed me the wrong way when I saw Chris Armas is, rumored to TFC. And that's simply because of the obvious, which is the Red Bull connection. And, I think from a Toronto FC fan perspective, growing up here in the city, we don't want to see Toronto FC become the New York Red Bulls. That's just an initial reaction whenever you hear any other, another manager or coach is linked to Toronto FC that used to be at the Red Bulls. That's just natural. But I think, Mitch, you had some good points as to what Chris Armas could potentially bring if he is, the Toronto FC next head coach, which we don't know, because I think they've narrowed it down. He is on that list, but there are some other candidates too. But yeah, Mitch, what do you think that Chris Armas could bring that's really positive?
Well, my thinking on that is just that, the New York Red Bulls aren't the worst thing to become, in the sense that, insofar as developing players and selling them off, and even, the benefits that those players have obviously had to the first team squad. I mean, we can talk about the run of supporters shields. Obviously, they haven't quite gotten it done in the playoffs yet, but I think that's a major positive. And I think with the talent that Toronto FC has, coming in, a coach coming in with that mentality of being able to integrate these talented players into the first team, and doing so in that way would be awesome. But at the same time, it's Toronto FC. They're never not going to spend that money on those designated players. And that's the difference between Toronto FC and the New York Red Bulls. And that's what's, going to keep Toronto FC in that upper echelon, whereas the Red Bulls will probably, go up and down in terms of what talent they have currently, who they sold off recently, that sort of thing. And that's why I think Toronto FC fans should be excited.
What did George just write? I love it, but what happened here? Who is responsible for Red Bulls being the dirtiest club we've had to play against the last few years? And is it Armas doing? I wouldn't like TFC to be Brute 33, which is a very deep Cologne cut, or maybe it isn't.
Is he wondering who's responsible for the tunnel fights, or because that was under Jesse Marsh?
That was under Jesse Marsh. I mean, this is and that circles right back to my key issue, right? Armas failed at coming in right after an established coach and trying to maybe put a little sprinkle on an established system. Isn't that almost entirely what his mandate would be at TFC?
I don't know if he completely failed. I mean, they went on to win the Supporters' Shield that year that he did take over. And then, from what I've seen, I mean, I feel like this has just been Red Bulls in general. I think that, I guess you are right here. He continued that high pressing. I found it sort of exciting because they're always playing on the front foot type sort of style of play that, what George is referring to. Like the Red Bulls are sort of that dirty team because they will stick a foot in. They will, they make sure they get on you in the press. So, in terms of that style play, I think that's what he is. I think that's his sort of identity, his MO. I would love to see that implemented at Toronto FC. I think TFC is one of the best teams in the league. I feel like you have to play like that. You have to play like you're better than the rest of the competition. And, you can't give up space on the field. And I think that's something that Chris Armas sort of brings in. Again, there are question marks as to, if he is a step up from Greg Vanney with Toronto FC, Bill Manning, Ali Curtis saying they weren't afraid to sort of spend at this position, at the head coaching position. I mean, is that a step up ultimately when you think about some of the other names that were rumored, like Patrick Vieira, Laurent Blanc, and then, you hear Chris Armas. So I guess from a TFC fan perspective, that's a little bit of a letdown.
It's
but
not a sexy hire.
End of the day, neither was Greg Vanney when he was first hired. So, we have to, I guess, so far, Bill Manning hasn't really done us wrong when appointing new coaches or anything like that. So perhaps we have to put our faith in him and understand he is going to do the right.
Sample size.
That's fair. He's 1 for 1.
Exactly.
But Manning, to your point, Manning certainly does have the experience within the league of getting the most out of his coaches and finding good coaching candidates. So, at the end of the day, it wasn't our inventor who was the best Toronto FC head coach of all time. It was Greg Vanney, the limited academy coach who came up, a limited experience academy coach that came up and was able to coach this team to success. So in MLS especially, it's not always the resume that will determine the best coach, just because of all the wild ins and outs, the travel, that sort of thing. Maybe especially
a lot of questions. We're going to answer a lot of questions because one of the big knocks against Vanney was it his tactical acumen, or was it the fact that he had Seba and Josie and Bradley and Shore and blah, 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 blah. And so now we're going to see with Armas. Can you do with this? Can you do with Pause what you couldn't do with Kaku, essentially? You know what I mean? And I think that that's a necessary evolution in the club. Certainly we're not the 2017 squad, so it's not going to be a like for like. And the league isn't the same as it was in 2017. But, we're going to get that question answered. Certainly Chris Armas is going to answer that question.
Yeah, I think Will's kind of echoing your thoughts there. Even though Vanney accomplished a lot, who's to say if we had another coach, he wouldn't have done even better. Like we said, small sample size. But let's not take anything away from Greg Vanney before we get too sidetracked here. I mean,
if we had done a show last week I was prepared to take everything away from him.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, he's done wonders with this club, like behind the scenes as well. I mean, there's a reason why people are so emotional when he was departing. It's because, you know, the connections that he made behind the scenes and the impact that he had, you know, within the club. And that's really, it can't be measured, but it's so important, and keeping that chemistry up, and that will be missed for sure. And I think that's a crucial feature they're looking for in their next coach.
I'm going to do it. You said it can't be measured, and I think it can be measured against how quickly he was out the door. I mean, all of that wonderful lip service, all of those wonderful connections he made and ties to the city, it didn't necessarily amount to a hill of beans when an offer was on the table from LA Galaxy. I mean, sorry, but you know, I'm not ready to venerate the guy yet. I don't think that it's the same as Seba.
Can you not do both though?
What do you mean?
Can you not be a good person and also depart at the end of your contract?
Yes, you can. Did he? I don't think so. Not in the slightest. Not
did
in the slightest.
What did he not do that I say was
he gracious on the way out? No, because I think the whole story is still unraveling. You know, we've heard enough on the periphery about you know, how switched off he was, and you know how almost at the midpoint of the season how switched off he was. You know, it's not Seba, right? It's not where we can go and say, you know, the lion's share of 2018 you spent absorbed with your own renegotiations, but it's a lot closer than we'd like to think. It's a lot closer than TFC Live would be like to think.
Go ahead, Mitch. Go ahead.
I don't know. I don't know if I have too much more to add on that at the moment. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Certainly, with it sounds like Toronto FC's head coaching search is boiling down.
What I will say before we move on is I don't think you're alone in that sentiment, Jeff. I think a lot of TFC fans are left angry, and they're left disappointed that Greg Vanney left in sort of the manner that he did, and that was that he had a contract offer on the table since July. He said he was mulling it over, whatever to the media. Said that, you know, it was all but a done deal to the media. And then, you know, behind the scenes, a couple days after the season, obviously he informs Bill Manning and Ali Curtis when they tell him that they need a decision that, you know, he is going to indeed move on. So, of course, the question is always going to be, did Greg Vanney know all this time that he was leaving Toronto? What I will raise up is, I mean, look at 2020 and the year that we lived, man. I don't think Greg Vanney expected his year to go how it did. I think contract negotiations were at the back of his mind when everything is going down. When you think about, is Toronto FC going to play in 2020? Are they going to play at BMO Field? Where are they going to play? And then you think about, you know, the MLS is back tournament going down there. And in between all of this, you have all the COVID protocols. So, I mean, is it perhaps that 2020 impacted his decision, how poorly it was being away from home?
I think so, but that sucks, right? Like, has 2020 affected our love of TFC? Have them playing in Hartford in any way lessened our staunch?
Have we been away from?
Yeah, I didn't have to sit in a hotel room away from my family for.
Yeah, I think it's a little different.
To watch Toronto.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
And I mean, after all, Greg Vanney did give the club like 6 years. Like, that is an eternity in soccer years. Like, I think we all accepted that at some point Vanney was going to move on. I mean, he was a very wanted coach. There were the U.S. men's national team rumors for a long time. I think he left the club at a time where there's a natural evolution, right? Like, Josie and Michael's times at the club are probably winding down to some degree. Seba's already gone. Like, there's going to be a new era of Toronto FC regardless. And I think at some point you probably want a new face in there, because I do think, as Greg Vanney said, he wanted to move on to build another project elsewhere.
It does sting a little that he went to LA Galaxy, but yeah, great points.
Sure.
Great points, Mitch.
I have 2 points. The first is, it's never going to be an easy thing to leave a relationship when you've fallen out of love with the person and they still love you, right? Like, there'll always be hurt feelings. But the thing that I keep coming back to, is Dan Savage's campfire rule. Savage Love, the sex and romance column is. And his rule is you always leave the campsite in a better condition than when you arrive. And I'm not entirely sure that we can say that in this case.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know.
Do you know what TFC was before Greg Vanney arrived?
Yeah. No. Okay. Oh my God.
What did you mean by that? Sorry,
no,
elaborate.
Objectively, I mean he's not leaving it in tip-top shape. You know, there's enough holes.
It's pretty dang good. They have a consistent roster of veterans coming back. They have some of the up-and-coming brightest young talent coming through. Their roster is almost full. They need to fill like 1, 2, 3 positions. And I don't know, man. They've been consistent for the past couple of years. I think it's by far Toronto FC is the most appealing job on the MLS market. And that it's for a reason. And it's because of the state that it's been left in. And it's the people that are still there, too. So I don't know, Jeff. Like, you're fighting an uphill battle.
And I'm going to throw elbows, and that's just the way it is.
No, fair enough. Because, like, I appreciate you offering this because, and being honest, because I really do think you speak for a lot of TSV fans. Because, you know, for what I've seen, there is a lot of frustration, especially towards Greg Vanney. And I think a lot of that also stems from the fact TFC have yet to name their new head coach. And hopefully, you know, that comes sooner rather than later. But I mean, I think if it would be better if TSC had a coach in place and then Greg Vanney sort of departed. I think that would sting sort of less. You know what I mean? There's still that gap.
Anybody watched his video hits and his appearance on the Extra Time podcast? I can't bring myself to do it.
I didn't catch it. I heard he was pretty emotional there about TFC, and I heard he slipped up a few times. I think Rollins tweeted that out, that he slipped up a few times and called LA Galaxy TFC perhaps, or maybe TFC We or something like that. So I mean, yeah, it's still fresh. He's been here for so long. So I mean,
yeah. I certainly don't think he's just giving lip service to how difficult this decision was, considering, as you said, in a lot of those interviews, he still talks at length and glowingly about all the things he did with Toronto FC and all the things they accomplished. And, you know, he still, you can tell he still thinks about Toronto FC a lot.
Is that just muscle memory, though? Like, I mean, if you worked at a place for 6 years, you know, how long is it going to take us to call Montreal Impact FC Montreal, right? We're still calling it the Sky Dome, right? Like, I don't know a single person that calls it.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So, yeah.
You know,
all right. I think Phil will be joining us shortly here, but before we get to him, as I don't think he's here at the moment just yet. Correct me if I'm wrong, but let's talk just a tiny bit about the Canadian men's national team camp, just because we got some exciting updates this week, I think, and one of which, you know, obviously there's probably going to be some more roster news dropping soon about who might travel and who might not.
Yeah.
But from a Toronto FC perspective, of course, Shaquille Marshall-Ruti joining the group. We know Jaden Nelson went down last year. John Herdman getting an early look at some of these players who could be very important to him or to whoever is the Canadian coach in the next little bit. Sorry, that sounded like I was saying John Herdman's on his way out.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's more of an age thing.
Breaking news, you heard it here first. Mr. Canada
LAFC.
It might be another, you know, 3, 4, 5 years before Shaquille is maybe a consistent player with the Canadian men's national team, just because of some of the other options they have there. But with that being said, I think exciting news certainly for Toronto FC fans, certainly for Canadian fans as well, that, you know, this young player is already being looked at as potential senior men's national team stock.
Right.
Shout out Shaquille.
The two Liams lost out on their spots because one won't be released for travel and the other one's injured, right?
Yeah, I heard Liam Fraser. I'm told it's nothing serious. It's just being precautious of a little ankle injury that he picked up. Big 2021 MLS campaign coming ahead. Yeah, I mean, seriously. But yeah, without further ado, I think we should bring Phil on, our boy.
Oh, he's here. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Now joined by Toronto FC eSports Pro Phil Balke, currently in the qualifying process for EMLS League Series 1. It's a game day for you, so thank you so much for talking to us.
Yeah, no worries. I appreciate you guys for having me on here.
Did we get it right, Phil Balke?
Yeah.
Nice.
Nailed it.
Nice.
Well, we'll certainly get into qualifying soon, but give us your origin story here. How did you end up being Toronto FC's first esports athlete?
It was in FIFA 17 where I qualified for the World Cup. Like back then, there was like no EMLS or anything. It was only the FIFA EA major events, right? And I remember coming back after placed like top 4 in the World Cup and saying, "Man, I wish I could sign for TFC. Like, I wonder if the MLS is going to do a league, right?" And then fast forward before FIFA 18 started, I got an email from MLSE saying that they were willing to get into the EMLS and that the EMLS is going to be a league for MLS, right? And honestly, fast forward 3 years later and I'm still here and I love it. I love representing the Reds, you know, internationally. Even when I go to EA major events, everyone doesn't know who Toronto FC is. So, you know, putting Toronto on like the map.
For sure. He is one of our own, the very own Phil B94. He gets hooked up with the free Toronto FC swag. Honestly, he's living the dream of like what all of us want to do. He was literally representing Toronto FC. I mean, come on. But
that
Phil, you're a little
so sick. It's like red and black.
You're a little humble there, and about your beginnings there, and you're coming up. I understand that you weren't born in Canada, right?
Yeah, no, I was born in Iraq. Actually, immigrated to Canada around 2003.
Right, and when you were at Iraq, how did you discover, you know, that you were good at playing FIFA? Like, how does that come about?
Honestly, I think it went back to like when my uncle and my dad would like, because back then we didn't have like consoles or anything like, you know, other states in Canada had consoles. You know, kids grew up having, don't even know what consoles were back in the day, like PlayStation 2. I'd say PlayStation 2, right?
Yeah,
we didn't have that back then. We would just rent it because it was so expensive. So when I came here, I ended up getting what was that? It was the original Xbox.
Oh yeah,
first Christmas in Canada. I ended up getting the original Xbox. And ever since then, I've been so hooked into like gaming, you know, just in general.
So how did you discover like you're better than everyone else?
Man, I don't know. I think that's just like a natural thing. Even when I play with my friends, they're like, "We didn't know you were this good," and I'm like. Yeah, I guess like I don't know I was this good either until you know FIFA 17 when I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna take it serious. EA is gonna do a bunch of events and see where it takes me. Is
it just FIFA or are we talking other games that you have thumbs at?
Oh, I'm honestly like pretty good at 2K as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Raptors Uprising, Shane Talbot. I know you're probably watching out there. Come on. I know you have a draft spot. Let's get Phil going.
But not hockey because you're not.
No, I did play a bunch of NHL as well. I think NHL had the eSports Hockey League.
Oh yeah,
you can play
that.
It's like a pro clubs type of thing. So I played that with a bunch of my buddies as well.
Yeah, right on.
Do you play soccer? Like, do you?
Yeah. I actually played in League One for quite a bit before I got injured.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So he's got a touch.
Yeah. I mean, I've never played. So do you think that makes you better at FIFA if you've actually kicked the ball in earnest in real life outside?
I would say to a certain extent because obviously you need the IQ when you're competing at a high level. And I feel like having that soccer background kind of helps you a bit. But at the same time, I think it has to do a lot of with like your reactions and stuff like that. And how good you can be on the sticks as well as having the soccer IQ.
How quickly you can think.
Yeah. Just playing all the other sports games kind of help as well. I know athletes talk often about, especially coming up, they played multiple sports before, specializing in one. Is there little things you get out of playing, an NHL or a 2K that maybe help you in FIFA?
See, the thing about like FIFA, like Ultimate Team, is like you're alone. You're controlling 11 players. Where in like when you're playing NHL EA Sports Hockey League, it's you and other buddies or same with 2K. Yeah. So it's you controlling the whole team, where you don't have that kind of team camaraderie and team aspect going into the game, stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it is very different then.
Yeah,
playing Call of Duty or Fortnite really helps.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Phil, you're one of Canada's best FIFA players. Red Bull athlete.
There's that Red Bull connection
of
again.
Course. Yeah,
Red
there
Bull.
you go. Of course, you're representing Toronto FC in the MLS, but that takes a lot of commitment, doesn't it? Like, can you take us through one of your average sort of days?
I usually, oh man, honestly, just to my average days, usually, wake up, eat breakfast, come to my room, play some, friendlies with other professional players, not just in the EMLS, because there's crazy amount of talent in North America, just in general, that aren't in EMLS. Practice against them. Very good friends with the Chicago player as well. He represents the Chicago Fire, so I play friendly with him a lot, and it's pretty much my day.
How many games do you play like a day?
Oh man, I want to say at least 30. 30. Yeah, at least like 30 to 40 days.
Consistency is key. All right, Phil, let's talk a little AMLS. In the past couple of years, you've done fairly well. I think last season in particular, you finished top 8 in each of the 3 events: League Series 1, League Series 2, and of course, the EMLS Cup. But you haven't quite got over that hump, eh? You haven't quite got to that championship that, of course, obviously you want.
There's that Red Bull
always so consistent. How is that? How is that changing this year? Because I feel like you're on the come up here. You've been highly rated. I think you're number 1. You're tied for first in North American Global Series there at the points. How is that changing this year? Like, do you change your mentality going into the competition, or what's different?
Yeah, honestly, like me and Shane always talk about this. Like we're always like top 8, finishing semifinals, the EMLS Cup. Coming up short, winning the actual thing. And I've honestly like dedicated a lot, the past couple of years playing, and I just want to win something. Especially it would mean a lot to win like the EMLS Cup. Because when I first signed, I was gonna say like I said in one of the interviews, like I want to bring back the EMLS Cup to Toronto, and that's when Toronto FC ended up beating Seattle in the finals in Toronto. Like that's when the league first started. So they're saying like, "Oh, do you think you'll win it?" And I'm like, honestly, like I hope so.
But every year you're a contender. I mean, if you read all the articles on the MLS and MLSsoccer.com, they have you up there as one of the potential dark horses, or even sometimes even the favorites to go far in that competition. Your consistency has been so key. How do you do that? Like day in, like competition in, competition out. You're one of the few on the scene that can do that.
Yeah, honestly, it goes back to like how much time you put in. That's the biggest thing with FIFA is like the more time you put in, the greater you'll be at the game. And honestly, with being ranked as like a favorite for EMLS, it's like I expect that. Just because of what I've done in the previous years for North America, FIFA eSports.
For sure, bro. Talk your talk, man.
Right?
Talk your talk. Let's go.
Live your truth. Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel like that's why they regard me as one of the favorites. And honestly, like I know myself, like I'm up there with the top guys. Like I can beat them on like any day. It's just
I'm sure you have in like offline or like not official competitions too all the time. I'm sure.
Of course. Like even like Diddy, like he's always ranked like first or second, in like outside of EMLS, I've beaten him like a few times in like EA majors, so it's like I know I have that in me, to beat these guys. It's just like it's just the bounces you get that day that go your way or go against you, and especially with the last EMLS Cup where it was online, it wasn't like how they usually do it when it's like in person. Studio. So you have to play with the connection, depending on where the guy lives. We're pretty far away from everybody else, right? The closest club would be Montreal. So
yeah, you played someone in Brazil last year, didn't you?
Yeah, the Atlanta United player was he couldn't travel to the States because of all the travel restrictions.
Of course.
So we had to play me from Toronto to where he was in Brazil, and that wasn't fun.
That's all right. You'll be navigating those challenges though again this season. Yeah, go ahead, Mitch.
Well, yeah, you just don't think about the like obviously COVID affects everything, but you don't think about how it would affect the video game world as much as certainly the first team. But yeah, it seems to affect everything. Certainly
everything. Yeah,
it honestly does. And I feel like even though we were playing on 100 ping, I I was still winning that game, and then he ended up tying it in the 90th, and I ended up losing in penalties.
So close,
so, like,
such a heartbreaker.
So it's like, you know, when I look back at those type of things, and I'm like, you know, if I can just conquer that, you know, 2 minutes in game time where, you know, I can see out the game, you know, there I am to the conference finals, one step closer to the MLS Cup final. So,
and I think that's what it's all about, right? It's getting stronger, it's getting better, and it's, you know, what you can take away and what you can use to improve. And it's great that you have those experiences, even though obviously you'd rather be on the other end of things. And you know, this season, Phil, we're rooting for you, buddy, because a couple massive games.
I appreciate it.
Oh man, I have so many questions. I'll start with the one I just wrote down. Does EA call you guys about what they're planning to update on a year-by-year basis and get your input? Do you ever get any of the EA programmers asking you, you know, specific techie questions?
No, they usually don't. I know they handpick some of the pros that they contact. I certainly don't know any people from North America that have been contacted, you know, to get like a review back from the game. I know when the beta rolls out, there's like a forum that comes out, and, you know, you can tap on the forum, say what you want, but usually sometimes they don't even necessarily.
Yeah,
you know?
If you're watching this, come on, you reach out to your boy Phil. I'm sure he has a bunch to say about FIFA.
Yeah, I mean,
I just honestly, you know what it is? I feel like FIFA is like one of those game titles where it's so hard to please the casual and the pro. Yeah, I don't know,
For sure.
Mike, I don't know if you know you've played FIFA before, but
of course,
you know, like, it's so hard to please a casual and a pro at the same time. You know, you obviously need to. Majority of the your sellers are like casual players. You know, there's
FIFA Ultimate Team too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
a lot of people are into the FIFA Ultimate Team.
And
I'm gonna
it's just hard to please both worlds, and I think that's what they struggle with.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna flip my question order then, and I'm gonna read it verbatim. FIFA keeps introducing no game modes. Easily the most divisive has been FIFA Ultimate Team, and also possibly the most successful. What is your opinion on FIFA Ultimate Team? Is it good for the game? Good for EA Sports, or is it going down a dark path?
I bet you didn't expect that question, Phil.
Yeah, no, that's a tough one, because I do think for EA as the company, I feel like Ultimate Team is like their best seller. Like that's you know, where they make a huge.
You don't have to whisper it, Phil. It's not a secret.
They're not asking you for input anyway. So.
Yeah, I honestly feel like it honestly is like Ultimate Team is like taking next big steps each year. You know, it's either like introducing new legends into the game or adding new game modes into the game. I know this year they added a 2v2 aspect where, you know, if me and you have an Ultimate Team, we could play together versus two other people that have two Ultimate Teams. So it's it's like they're making big steps, and it's like nice to see, but sometimes when the gameplay doesn't correlate with the game, it's like it's kind of tough.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
Yeah, like I've spent 40 hours just getting chemistry upgrades. You know, having played a single match of FIFA, like nobody's hit the ball, and I'm just sitting there like figuring out how to get more coins. And then it's 5 hours later, and I haven't played a single actual game of FIFA. So
you know, when I stopped playing Ultimate Team, Jeff, is I was actually at an event with Phil, I think last year. Or the year before all of this COVID thing. And, you know, I spent 6 months, you know, building up my Ultimate Team, and it was pretty good, I thought. And I pull up my phone, I'm going to show this guy my Ultimate Team, and he literally laughs me off. He's like, one of his players is more expensive than my entire team. And as soon as I saw that, after I put 6 months of time into this, I was like, okay, enough with Ultimate Team.
Well, I don't understand the marketplace. Like, why is one Fabregas like 600 FIFA coins and the other one like 12,000 FIFA coins? I don't get it. It's like it's collecting
overall rating, Jeff. You got to get the better card. Come on.
Yeah. Okay, my second question. What are some pro tips that you would give any noob to help them slay at FIFA? If you just off the top of your head. And why is it not mashing the speed up button on the
so do you want like gameplay tips or like just like in general?
I want to be better, so just tell me what I need to do.
Like, okay, what I want to know, but before you get into what first thing you do, like when I go into menu, I'll press pause and I'll change a few settings, you know? What are some of those settings that you change?
Honestly, I have like I don't even pause it and do that. I have it rearranged before the game even starts. So if you go to your team, you can actually set up to 4 formations that you can change to in a click of a D-pad, right? So there's like the ultra defensive, defensive, attacking, and ultra attacking, I think it is. So you can set up your custom tactics. I know there's like, you can go on YouTube and type in, FIFA 21 custom tactics, and there's like a bunch of pros that, have released their actual tactics that they have used, in qualifying to events, or even, foot champions, which, weekend league, whatever it is. It's like the 30 games you play throughout the weekend type of thing. And to get better, I think honestly, it's a lot of time consuming. You need to like actually grind the game and learn the overpowered type of mechanics that are added, every year. I know this year they did like so you can chain a skill move and then you can like cancel the skill move midway, right? By holding the both triggers. So like halfway through the skill move, you can
change direction.
Yeah, you can change direction, or even you can cancel the skill move and your guy would stand still. I think that was like a big new feature they did. And they also added a one where you kind of like kick the ball forward and run around the defender. It's called the bridge. A lot of people have been complaining about this on Twitter recently, actually, and I think EA might patch it. So, but
try and take advantage of it while you can, guys.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like all these moves that are added in every year, people complain about all the time, and it's just, I feel like for the casual, it's hard to like adapt to these moves because you have to do them in certain situations.
So
yeah.
What are these, like Hadoukens in Street Fighter? Like,
honestly, man, to take to the next level, to take yourself to the next level. Even if you want to be like, you're an average FIFA player, you want to be an above average FIFA player. You don't want to be a pro. You don't want to, you don't have time to play as a pro. You can, of course, you honestly just like, you need to do a couple things. Tweak some stuff in your gameplay, skill moves as well. That's a big thing. Adding skill moves to your game is huge. You can't be predictable every time you go down the field.
You got Jeff typing this down frantically.
I found that slowing the game down, like not just like rushing for a cross, really helps, especially when I'm playing against like non-computer players. Right? If I just bomb the flanks, they're going to destroy me. I'm going to get torched.
Yeah, that's another big thing to how I play. Actually, I don't really like attack fast.
No, I've noticed that when I've watched you play. Yeah.
I usually like. Yeah, the more you put the game into your own tempo, like the more results you'll see. Like the more you'll control the game, the better the outcome will come.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but would you say like defense is almost more important than it is offense? Because a lot of people, when they see soccer, they like to dribble and whatnot. But how important is it defending in FIFA?
Oh man, honestly, defending is super important. But I think it goes to equal with attack. Because you can defend for say 90 minutes, and if the game is tied, you need the points, especially with MLS, like a lot of games where it's only a best out of one in the league series is like you need to take advantage and score. I feel like scoring early is huge. Scoring the first goal is like huge because you can actually control the game. Yeah,
for sure.
Got a question from Eric G. Phil, what is your favorite game mode?
Heard you guys have a good squad going there, Phil. You and the TFC content team.
Yeah, man. We actually were pretty good. Not gonna lie. I didn't, when I first played with them, I didn't expect them to be good. I obviously didn't expect them to be.
He's just saying that because you're listening, Eric.
Yeah.
No, and there's times where I'm on the mic with them and I'm just like, Eric, like don't do that, man. He'll do like a random skill move, like lose the ball, and I'm like, I'm like, Eric, what are you doing? Or even Adam, Adam, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Even him, he'll do like the most random stuff, and I'll be like, Adam, what are you doing, man? Like, just stop it.
Gotta pull these kids back.
Play with me. I'm all studs out tackle.
Yeah, it's even funny. Like when we start losing a game, they take it serious. And they end up smashing the other team. But mostly it's just fun at games. Obviously don't expect those guys to be amazing at the game.
For sure. That's good. Yeah. Good banter, and it's good that you have that relationship with all of them, man. And I mean, you're a gamer, and you get to do that with TFC. That's the perfect kind of crossover, especially for a kid growing up. They're definitely inspiring a lot of youth gamers that are coming, because you talked about it when you were growing up, you didn't have a PlayStation, or like you had to rent one out. Everyone nowadays, I swear, everyone's growing up with consoles. I have like 3. You know what I mean? So it's crazy to see how far, crazy to think how far this can go. And I really do believe this is sort of just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, tonight, or this competition you're playing for, I think there's $15,000 on the line, which is a nice pocket change. But I feel like that's going to grow even more enormously, like in the next couple of years. Mitch, you had one last question there for Phil before we let the kid go.
I love this question.
Yeah, we have to ask this. We know you're the best FIFA player at the club, but which senior
that's Eric.
team
That's
player?
Eric now. We know.
Oh yeah, apparently that's Eric Jagamini. But which senior team player is best? I've heard Oso is pretty good.
Oh man, I think I've played I think it was FIFA 18 marketing day. I think I played like so many of them. I played Gio. Played Oso too. I'm actually good friends with Osario's younger brother Anthony. Through real life soccer, I met him, right? And
League One there.
Yeah, so it was pretty fun. Like when I was playing against them, because I always told Anthony yo, if I ever play your brother, I'm gonna no mercy, no mercy. And literally, it was the 30th minute. It was 3-0, and he just didn't want to play anymore.
Oh no!
Yeah. But I think
did you play as Cavani, and did he play as sorry, I'm El Tonka. What's his name again?
Cavallini, you're thinking of.
Yeah, did you play as Cavallini?
No, we played Toronto FC versus Toronto FC when we played that day. Yeah, we didn't use any other teams, so it was pretty cool. But I played a bunch of them, but I'd say the best one, I know Marky plays a lot of Ultimate Team.
Delgado, so you guys had a pretty good run there at the event that was broadcasted during the pandemic. It was televised actually on TSN, I think it was. And that was really cool to follow. But how did that sort of, before we let you go, but how did that sort of come to fruition?
Well, he didn't answer the question. I mean, he didn't answer it in the nicest way possible, but I want an answer.
I'd say Marky Delgado. Yeah,
nice.
I'd say Marky.
Nice.
Yeah. So how was Marky the guy that represented Toronto FC in that tournament? How did that?
I honestly don't know.
You just got the Emma. You just got
she told me
let's go.
They're partnering up with you with Marky, and good luck to both of you. And I'm like, yeah. And it was for a great cause. I think it was for a charity. If whoever won it, you get to choose a charity to donate that money to.
Yeah, so that's really cool too. And I see you and Marky still interact on Twitter. Yeah. So that's
that
cool.
Was when Chicharito was on the LA Galaxy team, right?
Yeah. It was there's a bunch of big names actually that played in that thing. Chicha, I think, was one of them. Don't remember the rest actually.
I only remember Chicha because he was chirping like nobody's business. And
all right, well, we'll let you go here, Phil. Thank you so much for taking the time, and obviously best of luck with qualifying. We're cheering you on.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for having me, and thank you so much for your support.
Absolutely. Thanks, Phil.
See you guys.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Yeah, obviously we talk about all the ways that Canadian soccer are trending up, and sometimes we leave, the esports aspect out of that, but it is so important for multiple reasons. Well, one, esports is growing in a way that, is exponential, but obviously FIFA's big as well. Even just quickly sharing
it's a universal language, man.
Yeah, the way I got into the sport was Blockbusters. Remember those? They had a 2-for-1 video game deal on NBA 2K. I don't know, 5 when NBA.
Allen Iverson on the cover, or what?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. No, I think it was actually Vince, so it might have been 2004 then. Might have been, I don't know. Anyway, and then there was a FIFA game as well, and I just love the FIFA game right away. That's how I learned everything about soccer. I wasn't a soccer fan at all. I might have watched a couple World Cup games, but that's how I got into it. All the teams, all the players. I remember, doing some damage with Ruud van Nistelrooy in that game on Manchester United. So yeah, that's why it's so important that the national teams in the game now, hopefully CanPL can follow, but FIFA is huge for the growth of soccer, and obviously the MLS and Phil are doing huge things for that as well.
Well, yeah, it's one thing I want to add there was Canada Soccer is last season they were putting together an e-national team. And of course, Phil was in the mix to be one of the people representing that team. Obviously, pandemic put those, the plans to aside and pushed plans to aside. But I think that's something we could also watch out for, in the near future, because I think they're going to get back to that stage. Canada basketball just launched its first ever e-national team. And I think esports is just blowing up, and we look at what MLSC is doing. Just give them a quick shout out with the Raptors Uprising and Leafs Gaming, and of course what they're doing with Phil and TFC there. It's another market. If for the next gen of fans that are coming up, and all the gamers that can relate, go watch these guys, because these guys stream their games on Twitch, and it's a completely different market. A lot of people probably, won't be watching this that are in that market, because I can't even tell you, it's like 3 times the size of TFC Live. These gamers it's a niche thing, and these gamers are really passionate. So it's an event going to check out a Phil match, because the chats pop in, and it's like a TFC game. There's a real buzz around it.
Nice. Proper bans. I'm all for bans. I love bans. So put me in a situation where bans exist and everything's amazing.
Oh yeah.
Before we wrap up this week's show, I think there's one more bit of news that I wanted to get to, and I want to definitely talk about the Canadian women's national team more on this show. They haven't been doing much in the time we've been running this show, unfortunately. So that's part of the reason why we haven't talked about them a lot. But big news coming out this week that they'll be part of the She Believes Cup with Brazil, the United States, and Japan in late to mid-February, kind of a round robin tournaments. Canada will get to play all 3 of those teams, all of which are in the top 10 in the world. Obviously welcome news and big news, because I was looking at, some of the friendlies they played before the last World Cup and the year they had leading up to that. And they didn't really play very many good teams. They had England and Sweden mixed in there, but there were a lot of, not easy friendlies, but like friendlies they would be expected to win. These are 3 games against top competition that are obviously going to give them a solid game. So, and Olympic opponents as well, I believe. So, exciting news certainly.
How's that for your debut, Brev? That'll be her first. That'll be her first time on the sideline there, coaching. The Canadian women's national team after she was appointed in November there, I believe it was. So that's something to look finally something to look forward to. You know what I mean? It's been so long. March 10th was the last time the ladies took the field, and again, as mentioned, that was the Tournoi de France.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's almost been a full calendar year. For the men's national team, same thing, a full calendar year. What I'm super excited.
We have Kyle Aaron, he'll save us, right, Mitch?
I'm telling you.
What I'm super excited about is a lot of these women, they've been performing so well overseas, and we've been hearing about them during the pandemic, especially the likes of like Janine Becky, Kadisha Buchanan, of course Christine Sinclair. She headlines it, and it's no longer just the Christine Sinclair show for the average Canada soccer fan. I believe there are a number of names that a lot of people are tuning in to see now, and I'm excited to see where this women's teams goes, because we really don't know what the ceiling is. Could they, perhaps, make a run and upset, the U.S. and obviously I'm not even talking this tournament. I'm thinking Olympics and, perhaps future World Cups. But it's an interesting time for the Canadian women's national team, because it could go either way.
It's also an interesting bit of serendipity, because the desire for an NWSL franchise in Toronto is only heating up.
Oh my God, it's so long overdue.
But this can only help. You know what I mean? This can only help get the people that hold the purse strings a little less reluctant to open the wallets, and it's a good measure of eyeballs in terms of the people that are willing to watch it. So
that's a great shout. But again, that NWSL to Toronto team is so long overdue. I think we should stress that again, because there needs to be a professional, like a top tier professional women's team in Canada, let alone Toronto.
I actually heard something that I don't know if it's real or not, but is the expansion fee for NWSL hovering around $10 million? Is it that low?
I'm not too sure.
I'm not.
I mean, granted, I don't have $10 million sitting around. So you know what I mean? But
you think some combination of Canadian soccer, you know, Toronto FC, obviously MLSE's got that money. There's no doubt about that.
Unless he has that money to spend on one player.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so why not build a team and that sort of thing? So yeah, I think we're all clearly in agreement.
That's just to get to the table. That 10 million is just to sit at the table, right?
No, that's a hypothetical number, and I'm sure there's a lot more that goes into that.
Yeah, it's not a turnkey operation. It's not like you get Christine Sinclair and a full roster at 10 million. But you know, I mean, I don't even think TFC was that cheap. I think TFC was $30 million, if memory serves. So
yeah, TFC they were on the cheaper end, yeah, for sure. Especially considering where they are now. Hey, good investment, guys. Good investment. Maybe you should do the same for NWSL.
Yeah. It's not a lot of kablinky, you know what I mean?
And we've never had the same level of facilities, certainly in this country, and fields and all those sorts of things that would be needed in this case. So everything's there. All the, you know, just someone needs to step up and make this happen for sure. Let's talk about Kyle Larin. No, I'm just kidding. There will be some show down the line where Jeff and I will yell at each other about that. But we should probably end the show.
4 goals, man. You got to
give him a shout out for those performances at least.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fine. Five goals this week, 1 assist. He's got Besiktas first place in
and
the
echo what you tweeted out, Mitch, because he deserves a shout.
He's the best striker in Canada right now. You know, J Dave's kind of struggling at Lille right now. Look, Ayo's good, no doubt about that. We don't know if he's fully part of Canada's system yet. He's in that conversation. Cavallini had a decent year, but nobody's putting up goals like Larin, and he's doing it at a pretty solid level in you know, the Turkish league. So second in the league in scoring.
Until Mesut Ozil goes there and then just tears the league apart.
So I thought Cavallini had a pretty underwhelming year, actually. But that's a different can of worms we can probably don't have to open right now.
I mean, I did it to myself. I'm going to call him Cavani for the rest of my life.
There you go. Well, to be fair, I said Greg Vanney was going to LAFC to start the show. So hopefully
that's Michael's fault. That's Michael's fault.
That is fair.
I'll take blame on that.
Hopefully, as we get into season 2 more here, we you know, get back into game shape. But you know, thanks again, certainly to Phil for dropping by. You know, obviously, best of luck for him and the rest of Series 1. We'll all be tuned in, I think, a little more now and you know, checking out what he's doing. So check out his qualifiers tonight. And then I think, what is it, the 16th, 17th that the tournament proper
this weekend
takes place. Yeah, this weekend. So obviously
the quarterfinals and like a bracket style kind of competition. So if Phil can do well tonight and tomorrow, he'll qualify for that final 8 again. And, you know, once he's in there, anything can happen. It's just one game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And huge thank you, of course, to Kevin and Sophia at Footy Talks for all the work they continue to do for the show on behalf of
it was nice to be a talent again as opposed to a talent producer. It was very relaxing.
You couldn't let me get through my intro, could you? I appreciate all of you, though, for tuning in. Until next Tuesday.
Cheers, guys.